So let's look at a few more example programs on conditional execution. So we have seen how if and else statements work in Python. So just to make it clear, let's take another example and look at how we can write a program for that. So the question is, write a program to take the length and breadth of a rectangle and print its area as output only if it is greater. It is meaning the area is greater than 100 centimeter square, else print the message too small. So basically we are taking the length and breadth as input, finding out if the area of the rectangle for whom we have taken length and breadth as input is greater than 100 centimeters square. If it is greater, we have to print the area as the output. If it is not, we have to print the message too small. So we have to take two numbers as input. The length is one number. We are considering it to be a floating point, assuming we can get decimal points also as the length. Breadth is the second number, which is again a floating point number, asking the user to enter the length, asking the user to enter the breadth. Once we have both of them, we know the formula to calculate area will be equal to length into breadth. So area again is not declared as float. It automatically is considered float based on the result that we get out of multiplying these two numbers. Now once we have the area available with us, we have to find out if this area is greater than the given value, which is 100 centimeters square. So we compare if the value area is greater than 100. So the question being asked here is, this variable area greater than the value 100? So if this question turns out to be true, the answer to this question turns out to be true, that yes, area is greater than 100, then we have to print the area of the rectangle is whatever the area we have calculated. So you can see we're using the flower braces here to indicate area as a variable, and we have used the F keyword here to indicate it's a formatted print statement. So the area of the rectangle is the value area that we calculated just now. Right? Now, if this statement is false, then you have to print the string too small. So if area of is greater than 100 is false, else print area is too small. So if this is not true, come to the else part and print the too small string as the output. Right? So simple if else, again note the indentation. We're indenting here, we're indenting here, and this print statement is part of the else condition. This print statement is part of the if condition. Alright, so that is how this another example of how we write if and else conditions in Python. So let's take a slightly more complicated example. So write a program to take from user the current temperature in degrees Celsius and print the message too hot if the temperature is greater than 95 degrees Fahrenheit. So note that we're taking the temperature in degrees Celsius and we are doing the comparison with degree Fahrenheit. So that there has to be a conversion from Celsius to Fahrenheit. Print warm if it is greater than 86 degrees Fahrenheit, and print cold if it is less than 86 degrees Fahrenheit. So if the temperature lies between 95 to 86, you have to print warm. Above 95, you have to print hot, too hot. Less than 86, you have to print cold. Right? So the first thing required is to take from the user input the current temperature. So we are calling the variable as current temperature is equal to, assuming temperature can be a floating point number, floating point, take an input, ask the user to enter the current temperature. So this variable will store whatever the user inputs as current temperature. The conversion from degree Celsius to Fahrenheit, assuming this is in a degree Celsius, the formula is degree Celsius into 1.8 plus 32. This is to convert from degree Celsius to Fahrenheit. So whatever we get here, we're going to convert it into Fahrenheit. So this will be the Fahrenheit value. So if the temperature in Fahrenheit is greater than 96, then we are printing the message too hot. So we are inside the if statement here. Now there are two other conditions. Now here in all the previous programs, there is one if condition, and if that statement is false, there was another execution for the else part. Now here, if the first print statement, if statement is false, that is, if this condition is false, there are two other possibilities. So if the temperature is not greater than 96, it can be between 95 and 86, or it can be less than 86. So we have to have two more comparisons, right? So if this is not true, we have to ask the next question. Else, if the temperature is greater than 86. So it is not greater than 86, but is it greater than 86? Here it is not greater than 96, but is it greater than 86? So if this is not true, comes to this is called else if. If this is not true, else if this can be true. You have to print the message warm. So it is not greater than 96, but if it is greater than 86, we have to print the message warm. Now, if this is also not true, so it is not greater than 96, it is not greater than 86, which means it is less than 86. So then comes the else part, where we're printing cold. So there are three conditions we're verifying here. Is the temperature in Fahrenheit greater than 96? True or false? If it is true, print too hot and the program ends there. Right? Else, if the temperature is greater than 86, true or false. If it is true, print the message warm and end the program. If this is also not true, then come to the last else and print the message cold. Now, like this, you can have any number of else ifs you want. Else if some other condition, else if some other condition, any number of conditions are okay. So each else if has its own tab. So whatever comes at this level of tab is part of this else if. So note that if this condition turns out to be true, it does not check any of the other conditions. The program will execute whatever is there inside this tab space and then come simply go out of this else. So it will come out, it will exit all these else ifs and come out directly to whatever is coming at the zero tab space level. Okay, so it will come to whatever we print or execute here. So if I have a print end of program here, right? So it will execute this. If this is true, it will execute this and directly jump to this. Right? Everything else is going to be skipped. Similarly, if this is false, if this condition turns out to be false, else it will check for this condition. If this condition turns out to be true, it will print this and then jump directly to this. If this is also false, only then it will come to the else part, right? And then do this condition, this statement, and then continue executing the remaining part of the program, right? So these are if and else if. So if some condition is true, do something else. Else, if some condition is true, do something else. So on and so forth. So it will keep on. You can keep adding as many else if statements as you want. It is as long as the logically correct condition is there to do the verification. Right? So maybe we can just run this program once and see how the output comes. So I execute it. It'll ask me enter the temperature. I say 35 degrees Celsius. It says it's warm. Right? So let me say for what will it say hot? Let me say 40. It is too hot. Right. So if I enter a very small temperature, let's say I get only 20 degrees Celsius, it says cold. Right. So for each of this, it is printing end of program, and end of program. Right. That's because end of program is not part of any if condition. It is at zero indent level, so it is not indented for any if or else if statements. It is at its own zero indentation, so it will get printed irrespective of which if else condition is executed. Right, so that's with multiple if statements in a single code. Let me expand this a little more just to make it even more clear. So let's take a little bigger program now. Write a program to take the test marks as input from the user. So your student's marks has been taken as input. If the marks is greater than 100 or less than 10, it should print invalid marks. So assuming that the marks are always going to be less than 100 and greater than 10. So if either of this is true, that marks is greater than 100, so 110, 120, it's not a valid marks. If marks is less than 10, like 8, 9, 7, any of those numbers, is not valid marks. So it should print invalid marks and stop the program. If the marks is between 80 to 100, it should print grade A. If it is between 60 to 80, it should print grade B. 40 to 60 as grade C and 20 to 40 as grade D. And between 10 and 20, it should print as fail. Right, so these are different grades that are given for given marks scored by a student. So first thing that we need is we need the marks of the student, and we're also taking a name as input. So when we print the grade, we can print it with the name. So we are taking as input the name of the student as well as the marks of the student. Note there is no typecasting for name because name is taken as string itself. Marks is supposed to be integer, so we're typecasting it to int and asking the user to enter the marks code. Now once this is scored, the first condition for enter the first condition to be checked is this value less than 10 or greater than 100. So even if one of these conditions is true, if it is less than 10, it is invalid. If it is greater than 100, it is invalid. So if this is true or this is true, the entered marks is invalid, right? So that's the first check that we had asked for. So if it is greater than 100 or less than 10, we print invalid marks, right? Then second range of numbers is between 80 to 100. So if marks are greater than 80 and less than or equal to 100, we have to print student scored grade A. Fine. So there are two conditions to be checked here. One, he has to be greater than 80. Along with that, he has to be less than 100. Both of them have to be satisfied. Right? Then his grade is A. Second level is his marks is greater than 60 and less than 80. So it should be between 60 to 80. So something like 82 is greater than 60, but it's not less than 80. So it will not be grade B, it will be grade A. Fine. So if marks is greater than 60 and marks is less than 80, name secured grade B. Name is whatever name we have entered here. Right. Similarly, between marks is 40 to 60, grade C, 620 to 40, grade D, else it failed. So you can see each if condition is followed by an else if. So if this is true, this statement is executed. If this is not true, whatever is entered here, else if will execute this statement. If this is not true, it will execute this else if. If this is not true, it will execute this else if. If this is not true, it will execute this else if. If none of them are true, it will execute the last else which is taken here. So if whichever else if it executes, anything after that is ignored. Alright. So let's just run this code once and see how we get the output. So it's asking the enter to enter username. I say XYZ and I say 45 is the marks code. 45 it says is grade C. So 45 is between 40 and 60, which is grade C. So XYZ secured grade C. Okay. Similarly, if I say 95, sorry, it should be the marks that should be 95. Name is XYZ. Marks code is 95. XYZ code grade A. Right? So this is multiple else ifs, not even this if one condition of if, second condition of if, third condition of if, fourth condition of if, fifth condition of if, sixth condition of if. Fine. Now this is not if, this else part. So one of these will be executed at any point of time. Only one of these five, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 prints are going to be executed. Which one gets executed depending on which condition turns out to be true. Right? So that's about simple examples of if and else if. We can practice a few more example codes to get the understanding better. Thank you.